I'll call this town board meeting for October 11th, 2023 at 7 PM to order. Pledge of Allegiance. Approval of the minutes from September 13th.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes from September 13th.
I'll second it. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Treasurer's report.
All right, if you want to follow along, it's the third page in your packet, and then Pam will probably throw it up on the screen here too. So starting at the top, our cash flow, our beginning balance in our checking was $115,147. Less expenses in September were $46,079, leaving a balance of $69,068. With the addition of revenues, $5,543, gives us an ending balance in our checking of $74,611. And then we've got our UBS, or kind of our investment accounts, adding another $435,695 for a total balance for the township of assets of $510,306. And then moving to the middle section, our 2023 September expenses were $46,079. Compared to a year ago September, they were only $5,494. So the difference year over year is over $40,000. And so I've put a couple comments there as to what's driving the difference year over year. $27,000 of this was to seal coat Geneva. Obviously, it's a annual or less than annual occurrence for that, so it's just the timing of that expense. And then when we paid the St. Paul Park for fire protection in 2023 here. We're no longer paying for police services, but just fire from them. And then moving to revenue, our revenues year over year were up about $1,000 from last September, and this is pretty minimal, but it was just the timing of an additional cell tower lease payment coming in. The October payment came in early at the end of September. And then moving down to the very bottom, kind of third section, this is our year-to-date tracking against our budget. So year-to-date, we've spent $172,799 against a budget of $187,016. So in the planned budget for 2023, we have $14,217 left to spend. And then our revenues, we have $46,729 left to collect for the rest of the year. So we are at a deficit year-to-date September, but we will get the second half property tax payment to bring us out of that deficit for the second half of the year.
Thank you, Keisha.
I'll make a motion to accept treasurer's report.
Second that.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any complaints? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Let's pay the bills.
I'll make a motion to pay bills 167 through 185 for a total of $6,816.14.
I'll second that.
Anybody got a complaint with these bills? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Planning Commission report.
Is that all right? You're just that, is this your timing, Mr. Chair, Supervisors? We met. There you go. And thanks for being here. I know we all understand the withdrawal. Mr. Chair, Supervisors, we met yesterday. Monday was a holiday, I believe, so we
Columbus Day.
okay. Had I think, a fruitful meeting. We had really two agenda items. One of them you're going to see, I don't have the agenda today, but it's on your new business for a accessory building permit, which we reviewed, and I don't want to say approved, but we recommend for approval, and I'm sure that will come up in the discussion, very, very straightforward. And then we had a lively discussion on some proposed zoning ordinance changes. This is what Supervisor Polta has been really working on. We've been giving him feedback,
Yeah,
but
I've seen it, it's pretty good.
looks pretty good, yeah. He's carried a lot of the weight on making all those modifications. I don't want to get into the details of it, because I'm sure there's probably an opportunity to review it, and we're going to have some public process to review it and give summaries and so on. I don't want to get into it, but two fundamental kind of reasons. One of them, just applied restrictions to some of the uses we had in order to gain control, really, and then
Yep.
introduce this whole IUP process.
I think that's really good.
So those
read
were the
that, too.
drivers, and then a lot of other modifications and changes and fixes and so on. I'm sure that we can probably get into that discussion, but that would be kind of the summary of it. So a recommendation for an approval on a permit or to have a structure build, and then we were able to get to consensus and an approval of the recommended changes to the zoning ordinance, which is 49, it'll be .3. So-
Yeah, I seen that.
Any questions?
It was really good.
Well, most of that is, as I said, Mr. Polta that carried the weight. A couple of the supervisors were there, so again, a lot of discussion, and also quite a bit of back and forth, so it
I
was not,
didn't make
it was,
it, I'm sorry.
oh, no, it's quite all right.
I got to mediate, it was fine.
But we were able to get to, I think what will be an improvement on what the community has got right now. Nothing perfect. We still, as a planning commission, would love to invest in cleaning up with our ordinances. We can have that discussion later on. But at this point, it accomplishes the goal of more control and then an IUP process that we can put in place.
One thing we didn't, we'll have to come up with a form, we'll have Pam do that with application for an IUP.
Yeah,
So
and
I don't think we never had one, so we wouldn't have a form.
you're completely right, and we didn't get to that level of detail, but we've got a little bit of time since, as I said, we've got to schedule a hearing, have a overview, the community's got to give input. I'm sure that we'll modify the zoning ordinance itself, and then we got to come up with the forms based on all that input. For the record, I requested the form that we used to have for the CUP, so we'll get going on that and try to at least have a skeleton of what that application process is going to be like.
Well, thank you very much.
You got it? Any other questions?
No,
Good, thank you.
the next town board meeting is Wednesday, November 8th at 7 PM. The next planning commission meeting is Monday, November 6th at 6:30 PM. Any other committees?
I guess this would be time for, me and Pam went, or Pam and I, we went to, they had a joint meeting of all the townships in the county at, what was it, May Township? Is that where we were? Baytown Township. And they were all there, and she can help me out with it, but it's kind of interesting, a lot of the problems we have are the same problems they got. A couple of the things we found out there, we asked them about, how do they do their roads? Do they contract them out themselves, what do they do? Every one of them hire an engineering firm, design them, bid them out, oversee the installation, the testing, and all that stuff. And another one that came up while we were there is, then we asked them, well, what about paying for them? Because I know that's be an issue of content in the township, it already has been, is, you know, especially with, you know, Wholesome's past annexation trial, you know, people have been asking, well, what happens? You know, the road in front of my house is in good shape, the Great Cloud Trail's in good shape, but Pioneer and the other ones are in bad shape. And they thought, well, you know, I'm gonna be left kind of screwed here. You know, if we got an extra, something happened, you know, I help pay for your road, how do we pay for the other? And we really don't have an answer for that, but we did ask the other townships, how do you pay for roads? All of them but one, they either borrow money, one borrowed from a bank, one did some bonding to pay for roads. None of them assessed their residents. The only one that was paying as they go were Stillwater Township.
They're rich.
Yeah, but after a few questions to them that other supervisors asked, not me and Pam, the amount of miles they had, the amount of money they had in the bank, they're gonna be doing that forever either unless they raise their taxes way up. So I'm just throwing that out there because I know, well, a few people have brought it up to me, you know, how are we gonna do this? So we don't know, that's just what these other people have been doing. What else did they cover? Well, a few of them's big thing was, I thought they said canvas at first. What are you worried about canvas? It was cannabis. Passing rules where they can't sell it and that. I mean, they talked about that for, what, 40 minutes? I thought, my God, okay.
It was a big thing.
Yeah, it was a big thing to them. Well, we ain't too concerned about that. What else? That was the highlight of it.
I think so. Also, we talked about how they do zoning,
Yeah,
and also asked them, I did, do you pay your planning commissioners?
oh, yeah, yeah,
And every one of them do.
yeah,
Everyone there
Yeah.
does, so.
How much,
something to
how much?
consider. It varies because some of them do zoning or planning different. Some of them, Stillwater does, they only use the planning commission for zoning purposes, period. And the board takes care of all the permitting. So they pay them per meeting that, and it's usually a lot when they start delving into updating ordinances. But so back to your question, Dan, it was like $40 per planning commission meeting.
but then the guy made the comment, the one guy says, well, why does your planning commission meet every month?
Right.
You know, when we have them look at our building permits, and I said, we don't have them do that. We don't have them do any of that. In fact, our planning commission, the guy even, there's two of them asked, they said, well, what did they meet last year? Twice or once? Or, so they only use them for actual planning, subdivision ordinances and stuff like this. And we thought, because we said we send our building permits through them, they said, well, why do you waste your time doing that? That ain't really on their agenda. And we thought, well, then later Pam found out, yeah, but they have somebody else, they're paying somebody else to do it is what they're doing. And they have somebody else, it'd be like having a planner, well, that's what it was, like a planner for them all the time. So they just did it, still somebody was looking at them, just did it a different way. What else? That was about it. But my big thing, I wanted to know how they were doing their roads, who did it, how they pay for them. That was curious.
Baytown too, I had like town hall envy. They had real live bathrooms and a
Yeah.
kitchen with real live running water.
Yeah,
Is this the one that we went through? Before?
you would have went, I wasn't on the board at the time, yeah.
They're not a rich town.
I was at Denmark's once too, talking to the clerk down there, and, yeah, theirs is nicer too.
That's the one you go past the little airport and then you take a
Yeah.
right.
Take a left. Yeah. It's on the left-hand side.
Oh, I mean,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah,
that's to take a left, but you take that right to go down that road.
yeah, yep.
Yes.
Yep.
Right.
So that's all I got on that, me and Pam. It's-
Take my glasses off for this. Non-compliant properties, comma, what's next? Question mark. I really like the way you wrote that. I don't know.
So we sent out code enforcement. We got, nothing back from property owners on that, correct?
Okay, so last meeting, you guys asked me to ask the code enforcer to go out. He
Yeah.
did that. He came back with
vague.
review or whatever, okay, of each property that we asked him to go out to. After speaking with the three of you individually, what we did was, I contacted the people with the violations personally and asked them if they had a plan or what, when they
These
thought.
were 4 people, right?
Actually, there were 4, but only 3 came back with issues or concerns from the
Oh, okay.
code enforcement officer.
One of them was, Ray Kaiser.
So Ray applied for permit, so Ray's property is kind of in compliance or working towards
Okay,
it, so he's
okay,
good.
okay, good.
Pam and Dick reached out to help one of the properties with a bunch of cars to help recommend somebody to come take cars away. The other 2 properties with the reports that came back, we were kind of thinking of maybe just stalling them for a couple months to see if the leaves can drop, because we don't really have a right to enter the property, but it didn't really, he couldn't see a whole lot from the road. So a couple
Oh.
properties we might revisit here in the colder season to see what they look like. That's kind of what our
Yeah, they're not-
recommendation was.
They're not coming off the trees quick.
No.
And Stone got back to you. She said, we're
Yep.
both 80 years old, leave us some time here. Understandable.
Ed and Loretta were out of town as well, and now they're back,
Yeah.
and they're gonna be working on it. They appreciated the information we sent them.
I don't think we have to do anything with these right now. Just table it until next meeting and see where we're at.
Yeah, that sounds good. Next one. Oh, yeah,
Well, I had some pictures taken, property, one was a boat, it's a license till 24, the trailer's got a lifetime license on it, there's a picture of that, there's no explanation. Since the picture was taken, leads me to believe that maybe I have to move it or something, it's in a convenient spot, and also a dump trailer that was there, picture was taken that I used to haul things out with, and the owner took it back because it was included in the picture. And so, you know, I've got to have things like that to proceed with. I want to haul my gravel and anything in the driveway. I don't see anything wrong with the dump trailer that puts,
He's just wondering if the pictures, in fact, were the necessary items to get rid of, or were they just an observation of kind of clutter, still cluttered around?
I think that's more what you're stating. I don't know if you two have anybody talked to the code guy about their property? I haven't heard anything from him really for a while.
I think he just took pictures and sent them.
Yeah,
The picture of the boat, he just showed us that it's there, but it's licensed, so that's good. Okay, it was just showing a picture of, it's now licensed, it can sit there. The rest of the stuff is, yeah, he was just showing more of the stuff that he was hoping would be gone.
They can go periodically when they go fishing.
Long-
I would use it
License
too.
boat's not an issue, yeah.
I would use it too.
Yeah, you could buy when John Bradley actually left the boat. I don't believe he paid the lady $200 for it. If you'd like it, pay the lady $200 and have it.
So as long as you brought it up, how you coming on the rest of the cleanup?
Oh, well, you put 90 hours on the bobcat that was getting back, and we took out some dump trailers and things, and 5 30-yard dumpsters and things. Other boats were crushed up and going in dumpsters because the family didn't want to buy new licenses.
So,
They paid to get rid of them.
so what you're saying is you're slowly making progress.
That would be pretty much
What,
Really quick progress, and then it kind of slowed down a little while the bobcat was in the shop, and
all right, as far as I'm concerned, progress is what we're after. You know,
Yeah, as long as it's,
Getting the bobcat back soon.
as long as
The
it's
leaves will
moving
be
forward.
falling, so it'll be easier to see in there, so.
Very the lead.
Oh, it's fine. It's, yeah.
Okay, next I think
Yeah,
we trust you.
we didn't have any new complaints out of it. It was more just kinda, he was in the area to check out other properties, so he gave us some pictures to show us progress of what was going on.
My neighbor's waving at me, them saw that picture.
All 5 fingers?
Yeah.
You can't count that high.
Okay.
All right, the next order of business is roads, an update from Supervisor Dan Ohmann.
All right, well, we spent some time reaching out to some people. Focus Engineering is one of the places that does like Denmark and a lot of other places. They were too busy to take on new clients. She gave me some really good recommendations on how to start and some different things, but she kind of thought with the little information I gave her on Pioneer, we should expect closer to like 300 to 350,000 if we hire a firm to help engineer it and the cost and that kind of stuff, but they did not have the time to work with us right now.
Who's the one that Cottage Grove uses?
They have their own Cottage Grove.
Oh, they do.
I think they have people in-house, and then,
Specialty.
and then I'm sure when they get a bigger project, they hire an engineering firm. Actually, you know what, I think most of them cities have an engineering firm,
In-house.
not necessarily in-house, but on contract. Kinda like the cable people when we were there and they had that attorney all the time.
Yeah.
That's what they have for, you'll see. They got their own city engineer, but like Cottage Grove, I think they only have 2, and I'm sure they're too busy to do all their projects, so they'll contract that out to an engineering firm.
All right, well, we did not have time with them. I can't remember two other businesses didn't really have time. Currently working with TKDA, and I've done a road tour with them and kind of some stuff, and we got some feedback back. I don't know if you want to pull up any of that, Pam, or not, but, and then there's another Ridgeline group that been working with, but it's hard to get a number. Nobody wants to give a number out for what it costs to actually engineer the project. A lot of them shoot for percentages of the project. TKDA, they were the interesting one that was kind of like Focus Engineering. They provide a lot of different services. They would come out and bore all our roads, put together basically a full township plan of conditions of the roads, how to maintain the roads, what needs to be done, kind of a whole thing like that. And they showed us a pamphlet from like White Bear Lake Township that they do, and it is really nice. But that's like a $30,000 packet, and essentially that's just getting you basically the knowledge on how to maintain current states, what you should be doing, plans and stuff. So then thinking that was probably
Who does the county use, you remember?
same deal. I think county has their own engineering. I don't think they really sub any of that out unless it's a really specialty project.
You might remember, Paul, like when they did 75 and they did Great Cloud Trail, I don't remember there being an engineering firm there. I just remember the county all the time, and then actually was a county inspector that was here all the time.
So they're just like MnDOT. The county will have people on site. They still use AET or Braun or whatever, but they're out there to make sure everything's, they have hired
Yeah,
staff
I think the county draws up the plans and specs, puts the bids out.
Yep.
And then they hired Braun to do the testing.
So then, I guess kind of looking at that route, our priority kind of was Pioneer, so I talked with Larry at TKDA on just maybe being able to give us a price for just service on, you know, our intent would be, we need to get the road board to see what's underneath it, and then let us know what would have to happen with the gravel underneath the base, and then put together a spec for how wide the road needs to be, the one culvert, what would have to happen with drainage and all that stuff there. And he was very lenient about giving out a price, but he said his other services usually end up being about 6% for design fee of what the project costs, and then like another 8% for the total thing. And I think it ended up, he threw a number out, like he thought Pioneer would be closer to 450, 500,000 by the time everything was said and done. So,
Does that include the gravel part?
yeah.
No,
No.
it didn't, it
No,
wasn't the
that's just,
gravel, was it? That was just the blacktop.
Oh, just blacktopping, just the other, no,
Oh,
just,
good.
yeah.
Leave the gravel.
So that's, and and that's what, I'm hoping this Ridgeline one, he's the one that deals with Nininger Township, a little smaller, but, you know, my personal opinion is I don't, you know, I think they wanna over-engineer or like do all this stuff and it's just a tiny little township road. So going that route, I'm gonna keep working on some different things, but, I mean, realistically, one of the options I'm seeing is, I've talked to a handful of companies that can come out and bore for a pretty cheap price and give us results, so there's some things that we could use on that and maybe try and do some stuff, but that's kinda, I guess, direction. I think you're gonna look at 30 to 40,000 engineering costs just for one road to tack on, and then construction costs obviously will change drastically with that too, so just
I kinda
depends on what
figured that,
direction we
but-
wanna go.
Basically, what we're trying, here's what we're trying to do. We put in for this, what's the acronym? Local Road Improvement
LARP,
Plan
LOAR,
Fund,
yeah.
LRIP. It's money given from the state to townships and cities and that, and so much has to go to townships. Okay, so we applied for it, me and Pam filled out the paperwork and sent it in, and you gotta have a road of regional significance. Well, we used Great Cloud Island Drive as regional significance due to the fact that, when anything oversized or overweight has to go to the lower pit for Wholesome, they use that road. When the steel bridge down there needs reworking on, they use that road. When there's a flood and they said Jersey barriers on it, nobody could use it, they use this road. They got their future park, so what we're trying to push to that is, there's only two roads going down there. When you take one out of service, you need the other one. So that was our regional significance. Will we get that? Who knows? You know, and I don't know if it's good or bad, them answers don't come back till what I tell you, end of April.
Well, that's the,
You know,
is that the bicycle trail too?
no, nothing to do with the bike, just
Oh,
the road.
no, I mean,
And if we get that money, we still gotta pay for the engineering and stuff. And we don't have a whole lot of details, because what we gotta do, the townships have to have a county sponsor. So we send our stuff to Wayne Sandberg at the county, and then he forwards it on and goes into a dark hole after that we don't know about. But anyway, let's just say that, then if that happens, we gotta do the work in either 23, 24, or 25. Okay, if that happens, our goal would be to do that road, you know, using them funds and do that first. If we don't get that money, then our next goal was to try and do a Pioneer next summer. That's what Dan's working on. What he's trying to do is get somebody to give him a spec and stuff for Pioneer. But as you can hear, you know, you run into some problems with that. So anyway, that's our goal anyway.
you could get that from Washington County.
We can try and see, but you can't, I don't,
Yeah,
they're not a
do it.
private business.
They're not gonna come out here, but they'll show you what they do.
They wouldn't, I mean, it depends where we wanna go. If we're redoing a road and you engineer it, you should make sure the drainage is right, make sure that, does the culvert need to be replaced or not? You know, one of the things when I did the road tour, I asked, both the engineer guys that I said, can we just build up the road on the one side and just tip it all the one way and get rid of the culvert? You know, there's a lot of different things that could go into play, and it just depends how much money as a community we wanna do. You take a $160,000 bid we had that could tear it up, you know, what do you get? And I don't know, but you could do the road twice, you know, there's things we gotta do, but for right now, we're just gonna keep trying to work on a spec thing, but I don't think we can call the county and they're not gonna give us anything for Pioneer.
We asked the county once if they'd help us with other roads, and they said,
No. I mean, the other option we have is to, you know, is hire out boring, and then, I mean, you can dig into the standards pretty easy and just put standards to stuff, but we'll give it another month or two here, and I think we probably have till January or February before, you know, we'd start getting nervous on not getting a
Yeah.
contractor for next year.
And you know, at first Dan got them other prices, you know, 160, 180, but a lot of stuff wasn't included, and then we both had a laugh, we're talking about, well, we're probably gonna be up over 220, 230,000. Well, when you contacted the woman on Focus Engineering, she said, no, you're closer to 300. And whoa, well, we both lost our breath. But then we got to thinking about it. In 2020, when they did Great Cloud Trail, that whole project was $320,000. That was Great, our half and St. Paul Parks. So if you figure that was $320,000 in 2020, Pioneer Road, the blacktop part, is longer than the trail. So when you start going over 300,000, well, yeah, it falls in line with what we paid in 2020. Roads are expensive. Anyway, that's all we got on roads, I think.
Work in progress.
Yeah, work in progress.
So then tree trimming, we can put together something to send out to residents. They're gonna, first week in November is when they're gonna mobilize. That's Tri-County Services. And I don't know if we wanna attach like a scope letter or anything so people know, but essentially 5 foot from the roadway is up to 16 foot high. Some of the work will be with a side shear off a tractor, and some of the work will be off a boom with some of the higher stuff, but essentially, no lawn and garden stuff will get touched, so if there's any private stuff, they won't touch that. We had, no trees over like 6 inches or something round, except for I think one we have in there to take down on 99th. Otherwise, yeah, that'll be a little
Who
mess,
was
but
that?
Tri-County. Be a little mess for a few days, but they should, basically what they're gonna do is shear everything down to the ground, and then they, run a different blade through the ditches that kinda grinds it and mulches it, and that'll cut our ditches for us too at the same time, so.
Early November?
Next spring it should look
Early
good.
November?
Yep, first week of November is what they're leaning, depending on what weather does here, but that's where they're leaning towards.
So they're.
And then when
coming up-
they're down here, soon as he gets mobilized down here, he's gonna look at, and I'd like to maybe do a road thing with you, Dick. Just a site meeting or whatever to just make sure we're on the same page with the trail over there for what you
Oh.
want done. When he gets down here, he said he can look at that right away and then give
Well,
us,
it's pretty much, there's a couple of them hanging over the top and by Rumpus driveway. That's
okay,
about it.
we'll just make sure we're
Yeah.
same page. So is that work to send something out, Pam, so people know? All right.
Yeah.
Huh? 27, I think is what it ended up being off the top of my head. Is that right?
I think so,
I think it's
yeah.
about 27.
And that's just our roads, not the county road. County does the county ones. So, sometime, maybe, right?
That'll be, there was nothing on Geneva, so that's 99th,
Yeah.
Pioneer, 105th, Island Drive. That was this whole
Yeah.
section here, yeah.
And where's the tree at? What road? Did I s-
99th, there's one tree when you get almost to the cul-de-sac on the right, I think it's a big cottonwood or something, I think we had that one in there to get taken down. But, yeah,
You know, when that 99th Street was originally extended, we were required to put in brand new material. We went around a big basswood tree, so it made a curve, slight curve, forward, but that basswood now is long gone.
long gone,
So
yeah.
if it was desired to straighten out the road, could be,
Perfect.
Okay, next one's me, I guess, reclamation meeting. What that's about is we, dealing with Wholesome's pit on reclamation plans. Long story short, in their annual permit last year, we requested, we want to see them start doing some, what's your reclamation plan gonna be? Well, then it ended up at the county on their 5-year conditional use permit they get from the county. County wanted some stuff, so we're working, how do I put this? In our zoning ordinance, we really don't have anything for reclamation. It's all in the counties. So they're dealing primarily with the county, and then the county's inviting us to the meeting and taking our input, and we're giving input back and forth. And the last, if I recall, Wholesome is supposed to come back with a plan to give to the county on what they intend to do for reclamation. So we had a meeting here, it was what, me and Tom, Eduardo, Pam, 2 people from the county. That's about it, I think. Want to add anything to that, Eduardo, or not? So that's kind of a work in progress. In fact, I'll continue on a little bit on that. Part of this code update thing that we were doing, that we're talking about previous, is what happens to that pit when they're done? Because there were permitted uses, and we moved some of them to conditional uses. So when it's done, and, I mean, 2 things could happen. they could do the reclamation thing and make everybody happy and sweet and let it sit there for however long. Or they could do the reclamation, planning to match maybe a use that they wanna do out of it. That's all up, that's in their hands, so. Tom's working on that, right, Tom?
Yes, sir.
You'll have it done in 6 to 8 months.
Yeah.
That's all I got on that.
Any other business?
New business. All right.
Okay. So we got the dates for the town board dates and planning commission dates. Is that on the screen? We don't have, I thought March 8th was gonna be,
Annual?
the annual meeting, but
We set that at the other, that's a different, yeah, yep. Do we need a motion to approve these? I'll make a motion to approve the dates for 2024.
I'll second that.
all in favor, say aye.
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 I'll make a motion to approve the planning commission dates.
Second that?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
The only question I had for you two is, do you wanna keep these the planning commission's at 6:30. And they brought up at their meeting the other night if they wanted to change that or whatever, and they're all happy with 6:30. And some of our meetings run late.
We could just keep them to an hour.
Well, that gets tough to do with Paul here. How would you like to move ours to 6:30, or is that too early for you, Dan, to get here?
Every day is a new day for me. Three
I
kids, you
think
never know.
I think we,
Seven's
I wouldn't mind doing 6:30, we get out of here, gives us more time, we get out of here earlier.
Either gives us
maybe.
more time to get out or more time for you to ramble on,
Well,
one or the
both,
other,
we get both,
for being honest.
yeah, and they'd be consistent with each other. You wanna do that or not?
Would that be something we'd wanna ask or do at the annual meeting or not, or just do it?
No, it'd just be us,
Three people that come.
Larry,
here?
Daryl here.
I think, I don't know, we should probably maybe get Keisha's input.
Yeah.
Can she
Oh.
be here at 6:30? I don't know what her hours are.
Well, can we wait and do
well,
the?
let's write.
Can we just put this on next month, or is it?
Well, okay, we can approve the dates, but you publish them, don't you? When do you publish them?
We can move it to next month
Yeah.
if you want. It's no big deal.
Let's move it to next month, and then you can ask Keisha. Because I wouldn't mind doing these at 6:30, just a little earlier. All right. Next one. Approval.
Yeah, approval for the updates of zoning ordinance 49, that's called 49-3,
Yeah,
and a date for a public meeting to approve changes.
how much, two questions. You want to have it before one of our regular meetings or
Yeah.
a standalone time? And if it's before our regular meeting, you want
Let's just do it right before a regular meeting.
to give us an hour though for that? That might,
I think 6:30
well,
would be
it could
fine.
get, who knows?
6:30 would be fine. Hour?
Eduardo wants an hour too.
Hour, all right.
I think an hour's better.
All right,
So 6 o'clock,
6 o'clock before our next meeting.
okay.
And you're gonna publish that, Pam?
Yes,
Okay.
so no motion is required? You do that
Oh.
some other time, or?
Oh, well,
I guess approval isn't needed.
no,
That's at
approval
the
isn't needed.
public
It's
meeting.
just, just set the, we would do the approval of the ordinance after the public hearing. Actually, we can't approve it till we have a public hearing. And then, as long as we're talking about that, at the meeting last night, we sat and we agreed on everything that's in the one, but I'm sure other stuff will come up between now and our public hearing. Because what we'll end up doing is I think we'll revisit this at the planning commission again, because that'll be before the public hearing. We can always throw input in there, and if anybody's got anything else, send it to me and I can make another one, keep the one we got, make another one with suggested changes, or
So that's,
if there's any dialogue, let me know.
that's Wednesday, November 8th at 7 PM. That's the meeting. And then,
I mean, the only problem that you've got with setting up the meeting right before your commission meeting, is that if you hear some input that you go, wow, I didn't think about that, we have to change it.
Yeah,
I don't know how comfortable you will be to make the changes on the fly. That's the only variable that I've seen.
Yeah.
You have a precedent, or you have somebody that brings up an issue that you're like, we didn't think of it. And I'm not trying to be negative
Yeah.
about it, it's just, you don't have time to
We-
make any kind of adjustment.
no,
We could just turn it down though. We could just say,
You could,
I mean,
well, you can just, you
Yeah.
basically, I mean, you punt it until you meet again.
Yep.
You have to delay it, but any of the other processes that I've seen on this, you usually give yourself time if you wanna make any adjustment, or you roll the dice that you don't need any adjustment, or that the adjustment is gonna be minor, and that you feel comfortable amending the ordinance on the fly, and then voting on it right after that. Again, not trying to be
yeah.
doomsdayer,
Good
it's just the time that you need to take that input, which something may be said that Dick, you or Paul or anyone can go, I gotta think about that.
Yeah.
I need to take
yeah,
that back.
that could
Let's-
happen.
let's just set the hearing for before next month and then let's vote on it the month after. Would that work?
Well, the only thing is, the county asked us at that reclamation meeting, we brought this up to them, we were doing the zone, they said, well, how much time are you gonna take? We said, probably 2 months, we said, probably November.
Yeah, I don't.
Could we do the meeting, the public meeting the day before?
Yeah.
Well, I think we'd have to
We
get,
could do it on
the-
Tuesday.
you'd have to get the groups together though, to, if there are big changes that need to happen, I think it needs to go through a process where we sit down like we did at the planning commission meeting and everybody puts their input in to get the right
Yeah,
one.
if
So
we-
I think
if we
you need
do
a
it-
couple weeks in between
Yeah.
or,
If we do
I
Tuesday.
mean, we can try and keep sending it around, but we see how well that went for 3 months, so it's, we gotta,
Well, you know, I agree with that, Barb, I just thought of something. We're gonna have our planning commission meeting, well, that's only a day ahead.
2 days.
2 days. I don't visualize any big things coming out.
could you have it before the planning commission meeting?
Of course, we got a hearing section. We can organize it around that, and just, I mean, what Supervisor Polta said is correct. The county advised to move on this, but I didn't sense urgency, because we really are not going to have anything to react to in the context of a new reclamation proposal by then. So you could just schedule it for right at this meeting, and if you hear something, you just gotta delay the vote until next time.
We
Or
could-
if you don't hear anything, you vote on it right there, you just kind of roll the dice to say you may be voting on it in December instead of November, and you don't wanna monkey around with the times.
We should just do before the planning commission, I mean, because then all the troops are there right there and we'd be able to hash out any changes that need to be made and then we could vote on it the next day still, as long as it got changed.
So that's an hour before, so it's 5:30?
So we could use that time.
Planning commission has a hearing subject in the opening, so we can schedule it right at that time. We can have that discussion, and then the planning commission can meet right after that.
I'll just show up at,
Or we can just do it, start at 6 or whatever, so that's fine.
6:30 before the planning commission, or during it.
Planning commission is at
6:30.
6:30 normal, that's
We'll just do
October
6,
Six?
perfect.
6 o'clock on Monday, that would be November
6.
6th, 6 at 6.
you want to start at 6?
Yep, 11/6 at 6.
Sounds good to me. Like I say, that gives us 2 options. You can deal with it there, and if, then you got
Couple days.
2 days before the board meeting, and if you're still in turmoil, you can always kick it down the road a month, because really what we're doing has more to do with the future use of the quarry than the actual reclamation plan.
You're right,
Has a lot to do with our township issues also.
right.
Yeah,
more so.
Yeah, yeah, right. Okay,
Do we need an approval on Griebie? Like, we really
Yeah.
don't have an actual permit, do we?
yeah, we do.
He did get one? He
Yeah, he
filed for
filed
one?
one, we got it somewhere. Is it in here?
Yes, no, not in your packet.
He's not here.
It
That's
was-
weird, cause he doesn't even know if he's actually doing it or not.
Well, he applied for it, he didn't
Okay.
know the timing of it.
Yeah.
He was
I went and looked at it today.
I can give you the copy that I have, but I thought that you guys would.
I have it, I.
That's fine, we
thought
can-
it
yeah.
was there.
I went and looked at it and talked to him today, so, yeah.
This is how it looks.
There's no issues, no plotting issues, no drainage issues. Looks good.
Nothing.
Which one is which?
Right here.
Oh,
It'll be at, 40 by 50.
and that's 50 feet from
Yeah, he's plenty far away.
the, okay.
Well, I'll make a motion to approve Bob's
Second that.
permit.
Motion's been made and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
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 Any other business?
Yeah. How willing are you guys to pay the planning commission here?
Oh,
Eduardo maybe deserves pay, but I don't feel like I would.
I think we're doing fine.
that brings up another thing, though, our fee schedule. I actually had that wrote down, I forgot it. We were gonna look at our fees for all our different stuff, and
Yeah.
Pam was gonna,
Raise them.
well, she was gonna compare them to, the other, townships. Did you ever get a chance to do that, Pam? No?
Most of it. The stuff that I did look at,
Yep,
we,
A nickel on the
they're,
dollar?
yeah, we're running neck and neck in some of it, and
so what you're saying is it ain't worth
it
messing
ain't
with?
worth it, no, it's not. I
Okay.
can come up with, I can put it on paper for you and look, and you can look at it, but right after last month's meeting, I went into all of the other, the townships around us and looked
Yeah.
at their fees. I called them and asked them how they do their fees, and most of it is, they go through a company like Minspec, they do the fee schedule, they do the fees. There's,
Yeah,
for mining, what is it, we get, I think, what other town, West Lakeland Township asked for like $250 for, annual permit,
and I think Denmark was about the same, ain't they?
probably, yeah, probably close, and so I was, it's like
Here I wanted to raise the mining thing up to like
thousands, huh?
$75,000 or something.
Just,
Yes.
just for what it's worth, I mean, I don't know how much effort we need to put into baselining what others may be doing, but 250 is another zero on what we charge. We charge 25, right? So it doesn't, it adds up quickly to become what I would call a nominal yet reasonable fee, that it's around a couple $100, $300, that can be meaningful to raising some money to clean up our ordinances, because otherwise we get into the, nobody wants to pay for that, right? The mining CUP is the only one that I know of the county, that's $1,500. That's exactly what it is. Mining CUP, it's a 5-year permit, it's $1,500 for that document. Our, mining permit is 25. So I think we need to get to something in between, and a lot of these entities would probably not blink at it, and I do think that if people need to raise a permit for some of the commercial activity that they want to do, they should be paying a couple $100 to be able to do that. It's not that many, but it's more meaningful than the 25, and then we can see what that adds up and what would it take to clean up ordinances. So I guess I would agree with, let's not overthink about benchmarking, but can we come up with something that is more reasonable, and that when you add 6, 7, 8 of these, it's a good $700 another,
well,
1,000 a year that keeps up the cleanup of the ordinances. If you would consider that.
Well, our fees should be in line with what our costs are.
Not really.
Well, to me, if I'm gonna charge a resident a fee for something, I wanna be able to justify why I'm charging it, not just 'cause I can do it.
I guess my interpretation would be you always have to spend money to keep up ordinances, change ordinances, do all that stuff, so that is going right towards, I mean, that's part of the cost, but.
Right here, on the board, this is what we charge. We just updated this fee schedule last,
Can you
I
blow
wanna
that up,
say
Pam?
November, December.
Can you blow that up or no? No?
I can't get it
Plus
out.
minus at the bottom, right?
It doesn't
Right,
do it. It doesn't do it.
Give the control key down, hold the control key
Yep,
down and scroll it.
been there, done that, kinda know how, won't work on this. Wish I could make it do that. But anyway, here's the costs, we can play around with these,
Can't see it.
I know you can't see.
Well, and like one of the townships too, we asked them about, one fee we asked them about was dog license. None of the other townships even had a dog license.
Yeah,
Well, how do they do it through the county?
No dog license.
I wish I could figure out how to make this.
You just got a dog, no licenses. They said it was more effort to chase them down and collect them than it was worth.
You want this back?
So do you want me to put that on the, you want me to put that on the agenda next month and you guys
You
wanna look at that?
can, we can take a look at it.
Do you wanna just email that to all of us real quick too, so we have it, please? Maybe?
What? What was that then?
Just the fee schedule, she's got it,
Oh,
fee schedule. Anything else?
No? I understand trying to collect money, but, you know, oh, I got another thing too. You know, basically, government is not a money-making process. You know, I don't know of any city that makes money on it, you know.
Can I respond to that? Let me kind of state this for the record very clearly. I don't think we can have it both ways. We can't have a set of ordinances that are a hodgepodge of best cut and paste that we can come up with in a non-professional way. And then when we ask from a planning commission perspective, which by the way, we don't want to be paid, we just want to work with good rules. When we ask, hey, can we invest time to clean up those ordinances? And can we hire a professional to do it? What we hear is we don't have any money to do that. Well, how do we get money? We raise fees via the permits that we issue. So we can't have it both ways. We can't hear we don't have money, nobody wants to pay to clean these up. But the method that we've got to raise that money, we don't want to utilize. So this is not about making money arbitrarily, it's to pay for what we want to fix. We think it's going to be about between 5 and 10 grand to clean them up. That is likely what we will be paying. And we don't have any method by which we can raise that money other than these fees. And we're not saying make them unreasonable. We're saying make them what others charge between the $200 and $300 a piece. And I think that you guys should think about that, because otherwise we continue to have what we've got. And you know where they came from and who authored them and what experience they've got and what legal background they've got in order to make them sound.
well,
That's all.
$25 hasn't changed in
This is, we
the
all got
start
it.
of the township. Yeah.
My opinion, we all got it, and it should be on the agenda, we can all look at it and take a peek. But I would agree that it's an area that we could definitely raise small values that would help. It's not to make money, it's
Yeah, and
$100, $500 helps.
yeah, the little bit we gain here and there ain't much.
Do you have a separate account to put that money in to put towards
could be revenue.
No.
We're,
Well, then it just goes into a big fund and.
Yeah.
where does it
No,
go?
it's part of revenue.
that's something we discussed at the
Keisha
annual
would
meeting, though.
keep
We were,
track of that.
we're gonna try and do that, cause we wanted to
Well,
find out
Pam
where
and
money
Keisha.
was going, cause we're losing money and all that stuff. And we shouldn't lose money, you should break even or at least be able to cover your costs, and updating ordinances, updating costs, that's all a cost that
Well-
we have as a community.
But
Like I said, that $25
Yeah, it hasn't changed in forever, yeah,
since the
yeah.
township started.
I think two of us are in agreement to take a look at it.
Yeah, well, we can
Dick
take a
will
look
come
at it.
around.
I'm just looking at, let's just take women cutting her hair in our house. If you-
It doesn't have to, it's a business. I pay $15,000 to work for a union. Like, it's part of a business. It's doing business. It is what it is. If you wanna do a business out of
But
your
lot-
home, she doesn't pay it to Lisa Salon. She doesn't do any of that either.
Give
It's
you
not
the best
But you
return.
guys are.
$25 worth, or $50.
But
It's
you
not
guys
a
are
big
trying to
difference.
make it like we're redoing all these ordinances just to handle these people that would have a fee taken out.
We're just
we're
doing it to be a
redoing all-
professional
we're-
township, to look
We're
professional.
redoing all our ordinances for the benefit of everybody in the township, not just ones that are taking out a fee or taking out a permit.
No, but part of owning a business, part of doing stuff also comes out of every job every plumbing job I go do, we
That's-
gotta pay a fee, a permit. I mean,
Yeah.
we would love to have $25 permits. I'm sure everyone in here would love to have $25 permits, but
You know, if you wanna
We can
raise,
look at it. Let's
if
just
you
look at
wanna raise more money for doing that, bring it up at the annual meeting and ask them to throw in more money to do that.
You don't-
because
that's-
that is our primary source of income, is property taxes, not gaining it on a handful of people that would be taking out a permit for anything. You know, I mean,
sounds like it's open for discussion.
Yeah.
We can all have ideas. Anything else? Yes, sir.
Is there a reason we can't include the short-term rental permit with this new ordinance?
It's it'd be an interim use.
Okay,
You would come and apply for an interim use permit.
okay, so there's a process for that already?
Yeah, it has to.
Well,
well, not
gonna be.
It's coming,
Okay,
That's part of ordinance 49.3.
okay,
yeah. And it would be called an interim use.
okay.
And I think it has to be renewed every year.
We can set durations on it, yep. Every business, everything will have a different look to it, but, yeah.
You know, two things on this, updating all our ordinances. Since I've been around, we've only had on complaints on our scope of our ordinances, how they're written, and redoing them all, you know, having an inspector, somebody do them. We've only had 2 complaints. One was Eduardo, and one was the sheriff when we went to use him. And after we.
How is this relevant?
And after we, well.
Let's just look at our permit fees and have a discussion
It's
on
ain't
it.
got nothing to do with that.
Alright.
This has got to do with hiring an inspector, somebody for $8,000 or whatever. Okay, and the sheriff, he was happy once we adopted our nuisance ordinance to take care of Tucker's dog and that. We talked to him, he was happy. He even said it pretty much matches St. Paul Park, so he was happy. And the only other complaint we had has been our Eduardo. Other than that, we've had no complaints.
I'll add myself as a complaint, because last night, sitting through a planning commission meeting, when we have adopted Washington County ordinances over here, that you got a page over here, you got ours here, you got a lot of stuff going on. It's a simple thing to do. They haven't been touched in years. It's worth taking a look at. It's just nice to have a one-page thing. If we all decide we don't wanna do it, then we don't do it. But if we all decide we wanna spend $8,000, let's spend $8,000.
And-
It's a discussion that can happen. It
And the
doesn't-
one you're talking about, Pam is currently working on, merging the 2.
And is that her expertise? That's where I go, I guess. I sat through a meeting last night. I've given input on stuff that I am a plumber. That's what I am. I do the best I can, but I'm all for having somebody, we pay taxes, they have guidelines, they have outlines. I don't know, it's a reasonable thing to do, to just have a cut dry thing instead of all of us sitting there hashing out. I mean, it worked really well. It went well last night, and I appreciate the stuff that went into it, but Pam's a clerk. I don't know her background in ordinances, but if we wanna copy and paste all that, fit it in, and then try and take out everything and do it all again,
Well,
if
she
people have
was,
those kind of
she
hours
was
for
on this,
$4.
she was on this board with me,
I just personally, I mean,
so she
none of
knows-
us, we got a group of people that volunteer a ton of time and effort. None of us make a whole lot, I mean, I'm not into writing ordinances. I don't find it in the scope of any of our work, to be honest with you, but we're doing the best we can with what we got, but I think it should be looked at.
Well, at our last meeting,
I agree, and go on the website, and actually there's one ordinance on here that was passed in 1972. I mean, and try to read through, it's 12, 7, 14, 10, 11, 18, 13, 20, like, it makes no sense
Folks,
whatsoever.
our ordinances are a mess. I mean, we were correcting spelling errors the other day. I mean, they are a complete mess.
yeah, like
When
Pam,
you- when
Pam
you
says,
compare them against any of the townships around us, you're not
Well-
professional at it, we're not professionals at it. The other day, we had a discussion on what we needed to hire TKDA in order to come in to give us what? Professional assessment of what and something that needs to get done and whether or not it's gonna get done right. We have not done that in our ordinances for a long, long time, and it shows. And it's got all kinds of holes, and we've got fees that are outdated, and we've got the best we've done in a non-professional way for a long, long time, and they need to be cleaned up. You've got a revolving door of folks in the planning commission that just pull their hair out, because there's no way to put heads or tails around it. Last night, you were bringing up about some of the definitions that are adopted from the county, but the ones that are adopted, but the ones that are not adopted, but were by this code or that code. It is very, very difficult to work within those plans, because we've got setbacks that they have an exception right next to them. And then why do we have a setback that's 20 feet, that's really have an exception of 5 feet? So it's a mess, and we need to deal with it. If we don't want to raise fees in order to deal with it, then find us other funds in order to get professionals to look at this and say, this is what you need. Now you've got a set of ordinances, you've got 9, not 49. They're structured well, they're relevant, they're cohesive instead of what we've got today. That's all we're asking. We're asking for resources
You know, at
to
the-
clean that up. You don't think they're needed? We think they're needed.
at the last board meeting, you offered, you were gonna check on how much this would cost and find people to do it. Did you do that?
No,
No.
Why?
because I got a real full-time job and
Okay, well,
I
then
was
you should have just maybe put it to somebody else that had time.
concentrated.
I mean, you offered,
This is-
you did offer to do
You
that.
offered it, you asked for the information, I gave you the information.
And I couldn't get to it. All I'm saying is, I'm a volunteer, you're a paid employee. It's a different role. If you want to take on, what would it be to find expertise in order to clean up our ordinances, go for it. Last time I checked, you don't even come to the planning commission meetings. So, go for it. I mean,
Really?
if the township, yes. If the-
Really?
Yes.
All right,
That's your issue?
this is,
No, it's not an
this is,
issue. All I'm saying is that we need to get these cleaned up.
We need to adjourn, that's all, I'm gonna have
Okay, that's quite enough. I think I understand what Eduardo's talking about. And he's right. And I think the board can come up with whatever the money is. We will.
Okay.
Wonderful.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor, say aye. Aye.